Why isn't the United States growing enough food for its growing population? I really wonder this. Let's get to a CNBC News Feed that discusses it.
What fruit do we need to grow that you would like?
What fruit could we grow that we don't already grow? She likes mangoes, but we can't grow those. Avocados, can't grow them either.
As Americans,
Nice.
we're used to having year-round access to just about anything, from
That's
tomatoes
true.
and strawberries to avocados. But not everything can grow here, and that comes at a cost.
We're next to one of the biggest cities in the world, and that's where the crops should be grown. You know,
True.
They shouldn't be coming from the other side of the states or from over the ocean in a container that's sitting around and stuff. It should be, direct to the market.
The number of farms and what they produce for human consumption have been on a steady decline over the past few decades in the US.
Wow.
Instead, what's being grown is corn and soybeans, used for livestock feed and ethanol, or as cheap sugars, starches, and oils in highly processed foods.
In the U.S.,
Yes, and that's something that is disgusting. High fructose corn syrup is going to be the death of America, for real. For real, for real. The amount of diabetes, the amount of sugar-related diseases that's being caused, Alzheimer's. Okay, I hope I'm saying that right. But memory loss, dementia is caused by sugar. It is caused by the high consumption of sugar. I know my aunt is suffering from dementia, and she used hella sugar when she was younger. My uncle, my great aunt, exactly, she's 94. She has dementia. My great uncle, he has diabetes as well. And it's just crazy the amount of sugar they were using when they were younger. And I cut down a lot of my sugar intake. That's why I was able to lose 120 pounds from 360 to now I'm about 240. But it's just crazy. It's crazy the amount of things that is caused by that one crop, corn, high fructose corn syrup. Sad, yo, sad.
we have nearly 1 billion acres of farmland. We have a population of just 330 million people. Yet we're not feeding ourselves. We are wrongly focused on growing and exporting these low-value crops that are not feeding us. And then we're counting on other countries to supply us with the high-value, healthy food crops that we rely on.
These staple commodities, what soybeans and corn are called, have a special status, which grants them more federal aid. They fetch top dollars being exported overseas, and they're cheaper and less risky to produce.
At the end of the day, farmers have to make the decision of what to do with the land that they have, and they have to make a decision in terms of what they think is best for their family operation.
So why isn't the US prioritizing more of what its population needs to eat? And what can it do to change that?
That's true. Why isn't the US prioritizing crops that we want to eat? People don't really want to eat a whole heap of corn. People damn sure don't want to eat a whole heap of soy, because soy is harmful, very harmful to men. It will cause a lot of men to have more estrogen in their body than testosterone. So it's a very harmful crop, but they're growing the hell of it, and they subsidizing it too, which is sad. Well, let's continue and hear what they got to say.
It's a chipper apple. It's proprietary to Locust Grove. Most handsome apple we have. Being it's named after me.
Chip Kent is a
I hear that.
sixth-generation Locust Grove
That's
fruit
funny.
farmer in Milton, New York, in the Hudson Valley. This is his son Sawyer, a seventh-generation farmer. Like most U.S. farms, Locust Grove is family-operated.
24, they planted the vineyard down here, and this one, and then the quince orchard.
Wow.
The more than 200-year-old farm grows an average of 800,000 pounds of mainly apples per year.
That's
Though
good.
Locust Grove did not share their annual income, New York State farms bring in an average of $80,000 per year after all expenses are accounted for, something called net farm income. The farm
That's
also
crazy.
operates a brewery and a U-pick orchard in the fall. Locust has
How is it that a farm averages about $80,000? Like in New York? Come on, man, that's not good. And I can understand after you pay for all your expenses and everything, that's your profit or your income and stuff. But like, come on, it's getting harder and harder out here.
has slowly expanded from 60 acres to 100 by acquiring other, smaller farms in the area. Farms of Locust Grove's size only represent 28% of total U.S. farms. The largest 2% control 42% of all acres.
Damn.
New York State saw its sharpest drop in number of farms and acreage in decades, between 2017 and 2022.
Wow.
Net farm income is forecast to plunge nearly 40% in 2024 from 2022's record high. That's mainly due to rising production costs and a drop in crop prices. Specialty
If you guys don't think about that, let's say the net income right now, say the average is $80,000. 40% of 80,000 is 32. So you mean to tell me that they will only have a profit of $48,000? How in the world are they supposed to survive? Prices don't go down. Food doesn't go down. Home prices doesn't go down. Labor doesn't go down. It keeps going up. Damn, that's crazy.
crop farmers, like fruits, vegetables, and legumes, record higher incomes on average, but they're high risk, high reward because they're volatile and don't get even close to as much government assistance as commodities.
Why not?
To remain in business, Locust has had to get very efficient with its crop, diversify, and expand.
We plant a lot of different things, so we can get away with, something failing. We've created more with the brewery here and adding the pick your owns, and if you stop and you lose interest or you get a little lazy, then that'll end. And then that's when the farm either gets sold to somebody else as a farm or it goes off to have houses on it. We could put up some really nice houses overlooking the river here. So it's like 2012, we added Woody's, our neighbors, Ed Wood, their farm. It was 21 acres on the north side. And it wasn't but a couple of years after that we added Tabasco's.
Locust Grove's main source of revenue is selling at New York City farmers markets 4 times a week. Some fruit is also sold to winemakers. Everything else is used by the brewery.
Biggest stone fruit crop we've ever had.
Yeah,
Just
we had none.
Wow, that's amazing. I did not know that New York State, there's grapes that can grow in New York State. I did not know that. I learned something new today. I thought mainly the grapes. That's crazy. I thought that mainly the grapes came from California. I did not know that. Wow.
The year before.
Plum,
And then-
well, we had no plums the year before. We had a lot of peaches and a lot of cherries.
Operational expenses
Cherries
are continued-
too? I did not know that. This is why I love watching the news and learning, because you will learn things. You'll be like, yo, I didn't know that. Wow, that's amazing.
continuously rising. Some affect specialty crops more than others. Fruit and vegetables are delicate, highly perishable, and labor-intensive. Farm labor costs are expected to increase 6.9% in 2024.
60% of what we bring in right now is just labor. The margins
Dang.
on what we had have gotten smaller. Back in the 80s, you made a little bit less, but you can put it in the bank at 10%. So, and you didn't need a lot.
Competition is another thing.
I like what he just said. Said that you made in the 80s, you made less, but the banks were paying 10% interest. You were able to say, hey, look, you knew that whatever you put in the bank, you were getting something back that you could then go and put back into your business. So if you were putting in, let's say $30,000 a year, and you were able to get that extra $3,000, that extra $3,000 can now go and buy more products, help more people, hire more people, all these things. Now, banks, you put your money in a regular bank, you lucky if you get 0.01%. Banks don't give you jack diddly squat. You got to put that money in a high yield savings account. And the thing about putting that money in a high yield savings account is that it, depending on the bank, they may have rules and regulations on how much money you could put in or even how much money you could take out at one time. So you have to be very careful. Now, if banks were paying 6-7% interest, you probably wouldn't hear a lot of people complaining, because they would put their money in the bank instead of having to take the chance, putting it in risky stocks and stuff like that. For me, I put my money in dividend paying stocks or dividend paying ETFs or index funds that I know that unless there's a zombie apocalypse, will go down completely. But still, it's very difficult for a lot of these farmers to make it, because like he said, these banks are not paying what they used to pay. And it's very, very sad. And I hope that Uncle Trump does something. I don't really think he will do something about it. He'll probably just think about himself, but who knows? We'll see.
That is making it increasingly harder for American farmers to survive. When the North American Free Trade Agreement passed in 1994, it lowered prices by expanding produce variety and availability in American grocery stores, but it hurt smaller American farms. And in recent years,
Wow.
lower crop returns and higher production costs have made U.S. produce more expensive as farmers have had to pass off the increase in costs to consumers. As for Locust Grove, the Kents say they won't switch to more profitable crops like soybeans. For one, they're just not suited for the region's climate. The Kents are also unlikely to sell, no matter how much land prices may increase.
We just need money. Maybe cut back on some of our taxes, reduce our fuel costs, our chemical
Right.
costs. I mean, that's what's eating us alive. We don't want to be multi-millionaires, but we also don't want to have to work our fingers to the bone and not make any money, or go backward.
Listen, you definitely want to be a multimillionaire. Let's be honest. Let's stop that, okay? And I agree. Cut the fuel costs down, which fuel is coming down a little bit. And I guess maybe Uncle Trump would try to help with that. But I really feel that the government is dropping the ball with subsidizing corn and soybean heavily. They need to subsidize the things that we Americans like to eat. Americans like to eat grapes. I know I do. Americans like to eat apples. Remember the saying, apple a day keeps the doctor away? Like, this is the things that needs to be subsidized instead of this crap commodities or what they call staple commodities, which is not really helping the American people. But we'll see what happens.
One of the most complex yet influential pieces of U.S. legislation is the Farm Bill. It's been passed about every 5 years since 1933 and impacts everything from what we eat to how farmers make a living. A big part of it funds programs like SNAP, which help low-income Americans buy food. The last one passed in 2018 for $428 billion. More than $30 billion went to large farms growing commodities in the form of payments called subsidies. They help farmers deal with lower harvests, price swings, and natural disasters. Over the years, federal crop insurance programs have increasingly favored row crops, which include corn, wheat, soybeans, and sugarcane.
That's always something that comes.
And you see, that's one thing that pisses me off. The row crops, which is mainly grown by who? Large corporations, are heavily subsidized, and the smaller farmers who should be subsidized, who we should make sure that they are doing their thing, they're not subsidized like that. It's just sad, man, sad.
Up is, the largest farms getting the most amount of subsidy payments, and can that be more equally distributed? I think, the tricky part there is there's a lot of what I consider to be small family farms, which I'm a part of. We're not a huge farm. We're an average size farm in the middle of North Dakota. It's a third generation family farm started by my grandfather. I farm now with my dad and my brother, and there are financial limitations.
The USDA funds other programs that support specialty crop farmers in part, like partnering with local and regional producers to buy produce for food banks and school meals.
We go into the marketplace and we purchase food for a wide variety of purposes, and most often those foods are fruit and vegetable production. If you look at the totality of what's being done here, I think you'll see that there's a significant investment that we've made in specialty crop production.
From more than
Stop lying. Stop it. The graph clearly shows that you made a significant investment in row crops, which is crops like corn and soybean. For you to lie out your teeth, he needs to get hit over the head with a soft baseball bat. For him to lie out his teeth and say, oh yeah, we made investments this time, third. But who are you making more or the majority investments to? You're subsidizing these big ass corporations like Monsanto, and they're going ahead and destroying the crop, or destroying our farmlands with these crops that we, America, really and truly don't really want or need. Come on now. Come on. That's why they're trying to sell it overseas. That's the whole deal. They know that Americans are using less and less of these crops. So what they're doing, they're selling it overseas. They're trying to make the whole world fat by selling the high fructose corn syrup full of sugar and sodas and sugary drinks and all that stuff. And it's just crazy, crazy.
decades, the largest and wealthiest farms receive the most aid, raking in nearly 80% of total subsidies. Gag
raking in
farm is about
80%. And guess what? Check this out now. It didn't matter if it was a Democrat as president. It didn't matter if it was a Republican as president. It didn't matter if the Democrats controlled the House or controlled the Senate. It didn't matter if the Republicans controlled the House, controlled the Senate. They made sure that the largest corporations got their money. And this is a problem that we as Americans, we really need to fix this situation. If you really want politicians to work for you, start asking them simple questions like this. Hey, why are you voting for these bills that's destroying America? Why are you voting for these bills that's not helping me, but helping these big ass corporations make billions and billions and billions of dollars? We need to ask that question, and we need to make sure that they answer. And if they can't answer it, vote their ass out. Get these old farts and these people that want to make sure that you are unhealthy, get them out of here. That's what we need to do.
about 5,500 acres.
There are some of those limitations in place and some adjustment there to more accurately reflect the size of farms and who should be receiving that type of financial assistance. But you know, if you go too far in doing that, it would affect a farm of my size as well.
The U.S. has been a leader in corn and soybean production since the 90s.
All of this really is to benefit a handful of corporations that profit off of those policies, those exports.
The 1996 Farm Bill removed certain growing requirements, which encouraged farmers to plant crops based on market demand rather than government regulations. Today, the United States dominates in commodity production, specifically meat. There are top agriculture exports, valued at more than $64 billion in 2023. Corn and soybeans alone accounted for more than half of all total farm crop income that year. So why?
Yeah, I mean, I understand about meat, and people love meat, and that's good. You know, farmers should be able to, feed the people. But corn and soybean, let's look at that. Soybean, let's round it off to 60 and corn 80. That is $140 billion of cash receipts from the U.S. crops in 2023. Come on, man. This is just crazy. This is just crazy. Right? You gotta, we have to really be honest with the American people on what's really going on. We have meat prices that are so expensive. Why? Because we're not really subsidizing a lot of the farmers, especially local farmers who are growing, who have animals, cows, pigs, chickens, and stuff like that. These are the people who should be subsidized so that the prices of quality food can come down instead of we having this, corn and soybeans. That's a lot of carbs that a lot of people don't really want. A lot of people don't want that, so they'll figure out ways to sell it overseas instead of making sure that we are protected. Why is that? Why is it that these American politicians make sure that these corporations can enrich themselves off their expenses, off the backs, off our stomachs, off our hearts, off our bodies, American bodies, and making us sick while they enrich themselves? It's just sad, man. Sad.
Why corn and soybeans? They play an important role in a few industries. For one, global meat consumption continues to grow, and that livestock needs to eat. Corn and soybeans are used in processed foods, which make up over half of Americans' diets. And
that is sad. That is sad. Processed foods make up half of American diets, and then they want to know why we're so sick. Then we want to know why we're so unhealthy. Then we want to know why we're so fat. I know, and I'm cutting down on a lot of things like that. I'm cutting down on a lot of processed food. The only really processed food that I'm going to really be eating is rice, because I love rice. But I even slow down on that. So I'm going to start eating more meat, more eggs, more fruits, more vegetables and things. But it's just ridiculous. It is sad.
Lastly, they're ingredients in biofuel production, which makes them invaluable.
These same agriculture policies that are driving our trade deficit are driving poor health. Subsidies are a major driver of Americans' diets. The foods that the government subsidizes, those are the foods that are going to be more readily available and more affordable to our citizens.
Here in rural America, the economies for our small towns, our small communities, our small businesses, a lot of that depends on farmers continuing to be able to be profitable and invest back in their farms and invest back in their communities.
Wow.
Health experts have linked our high commodity consumption with the country's growing obesity rate.
Just said it.
Fruit and vegetable
Just
production
said
is
it.
on a decline. And despite an increase in availability due to a large rise in imports, less than 20% of U.S. adults eat enough fruits and vegetables. But Secretary of Agriculture Tom Vilsack sees things differently.
We've seen a significant increase in consumption and actually in production of specialty crops across the United States. We import because we like to have choice 12 months out of the year. But in terms of actually feeding ourselves, our ranchers, our farmers, our producers are extraordinarily productive, and they provide everything that we need in this country, and that's an advantage we have over many, many other nations.
And I will have to agree with him there. America is the best country in the world where you can pretty much get anything that you want to get year round. I have to agree with him there, and I'm gonna leave it there. I'm gonna leave the video in the description box. Please check it out. Please support CNBC. I really thank them for making this video and giving me the opportunity to be able to use it, give other YouTubers the opportunity to use it and be able to make commentary on it. But it's important that we really have that choice, but we also choose wisely. All right. I still feel that they don't give enough money to these farmers who are growing these specialty crops that we as Americans like to eat. I feel that if they were really doing that, things would be better for a lot of American farmers, and we will be able to have more farmers instead of a slow decline of less farmers in America. So I hope that the American government does something better. I hope that with RFK Jr., now that he's in office, a lot of these old farty Democrats and Republicans, they're a little bit pissed off because he's probably going to change or give recommendations to change the way that the subsidies are given to these corporations. So of course, the Democrat and Republican sponsors like Monsanto is going to be upset with RFK, but I really hope that he gets confirmed, because we need an advocate, a strong advocate like him that wants to change the American diet, that wants to go back to the way we were, being very healthy, and so that we can be able to live long, prosperous, and healthy lives instead of us having to go into nursing homes, assistant care, and all these debilitating diseases that we have when we get older that we shouldn't really have, that Americans did not have in yesteryear.